Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 244, Using Keto to Cure Binge Eating and Sugar Addiction with Coach Lauren Berryhill. You're going to love this episode, but first, I've got a very special announcement for this week. On July 1st, I'm going to launch a brand new program called Accelerate 28. I've been talking with you guys. I see a lot of people struggling just getting their momentum going, right? Just getting that nudge in the right direction, transitioning their momentum from negative to positive. So I created this program as a simple process to give you the support that you need. You hear me talk about this all the time. Most people are lacking community, accountability, and a rock solid game plan. That's exactly what I'm going to deliver with Accelerate 28. All right, we're going to dig in together and get the job done. And this week only, it's on sale for $47. We start July 1st, but this week you can get the $47 price point. I've got an amazing bonus I'm going to add there, and I'm going to tell you about that after this episode. I'm taking care of your nutrition. I've got a recipe book. I've got follow-along meal plans, all of that. You don't have to follow the meal plan, but it's there if you want it. We've got daily workouts, 10 minutes, push play, follow what I've got there for you, follow along videos for your mobility as well. So about 20 minutes a day, and we're building that momentum. We're plugging into a weekly small group chat video chat system. It's going to be amazing. You're going to feel that accountability and that community. I'm on every video chat to coach you through your questions and so much more. So hang out after the episode. If you want to just dive in there right now, hit pause, go to millionpoundmission.com, snag that $47 price point because that goes away on Sunday. I've got a huge bonus that I'll tell you about after the episode. Now, let's talk about using keto to cure binge eating and sugar addiction. This one is super powerful because I know that one of the biggest transformation wins that anybody can achieve is the feeling of being in control over your relationship with food, right? I just remember when I crossed that line and felt like, okay, I feel like I've won that battle and I'm in control, and it's just a game changer. And it might take a lot of work to get there, but it is definitely so worth it. And today my guest, Coach Lauren Berryhill, aka Keto Coach Lauren, used the Ketogenic Diet to not only lose over 100 pounds, but she also cured her binge eating and sugar addiction. Now, Coach Lauren is a certified fitness and nutrition specialist and a certified personal trainer. She specializes in teaching clients how to utilize the ketogenic diet for weight loss and healing purposes. And a large part of her coaching focuses on changing how clients view their body while learning to love and appreciate it for what it does. All right, in this conversation, and it is amazing, we got a ton of value out of this one. We talk about how she lost over 100 pounds on keto. We get some tips for pregnant women that want to maintain a healthy nutritional regimen and people that are coaching pregnant women or supporting women through pregnancy that want to be healthy. We talk about some tips for overcoming sugar addiction and binge eating. And we get her advice for somebody who just feels like they have tried everything, they're super frustrated, and they are ready to quit. This is a good one. You're going to love it. You're going to love Coach Lauren. I've got all of her contact information in the show notes. And again, hang out after the episode to hear the big bonus for signing up this week for Accelerate 28. All right, without any further delay, let's dive into episode number 244, Using Keto to Cure Binge Eating and Sugar Addiction with Coach Lauren Berryhill. All right, Keto Coach Lauren, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are we doing today, my friend?
I'm great. I hope you are.
Yes, I'm fired up. We got connected. I love your story. We have similar stories of our own transformation. And now we've gone from transformation mode to inspiration mode. We're out there helping other people achieve what we achieve. So I want to start with the circumstances and the life happenings that led to you hitting your highest body weight ever. Let's start there.
All right. Well, to start, I hit my highest weight after getting pregnant with my son. I was 232 pounds at the day that I actually walked out of the hospital. So I had already had my son. I'm sure him being about 8 pounds, I was a little bit heavier, but walked out of the hospital at 232 pounds. And the weight gain from before the pregnancy was due to just comfort, just getting comfortable within our lifestyle. I married my high school sweetheart. So we both got very, very comfortable prior to, wanting to have a baby. And it was just within the 9 months of my pregnancy, I had went from really overweight to then gaining another 50 pounds on top of that and being at the highest weight of my entire life. So yeah,
I want to talk about this just a little bit because I want to get your unique perspective, because now you're on the other side of that. You've lost over 100 pounds and you're coaching other people. So let's say that you could go back and coach yourself during your pregnancy as you're starting to slip, as you're falling into that binge eating cycle, the comfort foods, thinking that it's okay, you're feeding the baby, like that whole concept. I feel like as a male coach, I've really struggled to connect with my female clients that I see going down this path, and they're just like, shut up. And I'm like, okay, eat the cereal. Fine. That's fine. So if you were going to go back and coach yourself, how would you approach that conversation? How can we as coaches better make that connection and get moms to realize that fueling your body in a healthful way is the best idea for both themselves and the baby?
So, for me, it would probably come as a more, and I don't want to say anything inappropriate, so if this is a censored show, okay.
Whatever you got.
I would probably be more of a hard ass on myself. I would really try to get myself to focus on the fact that I'm growing another human, and then it's not about me. It's not about my wants in that moment. It's not about that dozen donuts that I can down right now because, I can because I'm eating for two. No, it would be more of like, I'm eating for two, but I'm eating to grow this human who I want to not be predisposed to, what I was whenever I was born. I mean, my mom, she ate chocolate pies like every single day. She told me, and I feel like if you're eating that way during your pregnancy, your child is, somewhat predisposed to having those same addictions, those same, obviously genetics and everything. They're going to be geared towards that if you're exposing them to it early on. So I would for sure go back and be like, you've got to stop. You've got to think about the life that you're creating, and change the dynamic prior to, having the child. Yeah,
I think that seems like to be the smartest way to approach it is, with any goal, if you can make it not fully about yourself, it's about, as a parent, it's about your kids. And even if there are guys out there listening and you're 50 pounds overweight or 100 pounds overweight, like I challenge you to think about the long-term relationship impact of who needs you to be around, like who needs you to be around and healthy for a long time, your kids, your grandkids, and, reminding ourselves of that, it's super important, whether we're pregnant moms or we're just overweight dads that need to be around, that want to, walk our daughters down the aisle or see our kids graduate from high school. So that's super important. Now with you, I know you've mentioned that a big part of your comfort foods had to do with like sugar addiction, right? So let's talk about that a little bit, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people deal with.
Yeah. So a lot of people will look at me now and say, oh, you went keto. You're cutting out a whole food group. You're just creating another food issue or another eating disorder by eliminating a whole food group. But for me, it was I had no moderation when it came to quote unquote like non-healthy carbs, whatever you want to call them. I didn't have any moderation when it came to eating one donut or 12 donuts or eating, just a handful of sour gummy worms and eating the whole bag. Like there was no moderation for me. It was just binge mode constantly. And so I found that eliminating those foods helped me to heal that eating disorder that I had. But also not having those foods in my system, not constantly spiking my blood sugar, not constantly dealing with the cravings of eating more sugar, wanting more sugar, like breaking that addiction was key for me to healing any kind of eating disorder that I had. So it's important for me to let people know that there is such a thing as creating food disorders when it comes to eliminating food groups altogether. But when you start looking at it as, I choose not to have those things, it's not that I am forcing myself not to. It's because I know what it's going to do to my body, and I know what it does to the person that I am. And it's just being an adult and growing up and realizing that what you're putting in your body is your responsibility. So, I think that answered your question.
Yeah. So with your sugar addiction, do you feel like you are, I just interviewed Gretchen Rubin, and she talks about like people that have to like completely abstain, or people that can kind of dabble a little bit. So one of the principles that I teach is I call the cheat bank, where people will schedule cheat meals and things like that. Do you feel like that's a bad idea for somebody like you?
For someone like me, absolutely. Yeah. I literally just had this same conversation with Matt and Mega, Keto Connect. For me, I am someone who, if it's in the house, I'll use this as an example. We just got some really good keto granola from Lolly's Granola, and super low carb, very tasty. But the whole bag is gone, and we got it 2 days ago. And that was my husband and I's doing, but I literally was like, you have to eat the rest of this, because if it's in the house, I'm going to eat it. And he's like, you can't just have it to graze on. Like, it can't just be here. I'm that girl I'm going to eat all the almond butter in the jar or no almond butter in the jar. So
I'm that same kind of girl. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. So for someone like me who struggles with it, who really does not know moderation, and would rather just stay on the straight and narrow, that's what works for me. Now, my husband's totally opposite. He's like, I can have the peanut butter jar or the almond butter jar in the cabinet, and I can have a scoop or two of it, each day, and I'm fine. Or he can have fat bombs or whatever. But I'm like, it can't, my temptations can't be in the house. Otherwise they'll be gone within a day.
Yeah. I feel you on that. As more people send me product to try and stuff like that, I'm the same way. I'm like, I just crushed that, and now I want all the other bags that they sent me too.
Yeah.
Because I can still eat. Like, I've lost over 100 pounds, but I'm 6'3", 230 pounds. Like, I'm not like a little human. I can put away some calories, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So it's a hard thing to deal with, right? So with your husband, do you guys like keep your food in separate areas, or how do you manage that? Because that's another dynamic that a lot of people really struggle with.
It is. So in our relationship, I am the stronger one when it comes to food things. I'm the stronger one when it comes to like being super strict. And if we're trying to lose weight, I'm the one that tells him, no, we can't do that, or this is what we're going to have, or, I'm not buying that. So, but when it comes to just like kind of maintaining, it really comes down to me and my self-control and having to know that I'm not going to do those things. And the hard part for me is I work out of my home. So all of those things, all of the keto treats, because we also have a son who's 3.5 who is keto as well. All of the keto friendly kid foods, I have to really, it tests my willpower 100%. So that's been something that a lot of my clients have had to work on as well, is willpower. And, just because it's in the house, just because, your husband's eating it or your kid's eating it, doesn't mean that you have to, especially if you have goals in mind. So.
All right. So if you're having one of those willpower testing moments, what are some techniques that you use to keep your willpower strong enough to resist that? And then B, like, what's going through your head? Do you take like, I challenge my clients to take 5 minutes. I'm like, just, if you want to go and cheat on your diet or whatever, give yourself a 5-minute buffer, go and think about it. And then if you come back and still want to do that, then go for it. But any techniques like that you use?
I get out of the house. I literally will go for a walk, or I'll find something to do just to keep me busy. I'll think on it, I'll ponder it, but I find that the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's in my head and I'm wanting it. And I just, so I typically just leave the house, or I'll grab my son and we'll go for a walk or just anything. And I really try to evaluate whether it'll be worth it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like any sort of separation seems to work well, where you can get out of that primal instinct, and start thinking rationally instead of emotionally. That's a huge deal.
That whole binge brain philosophy, that animal brain where you have the rational and the animal, there is such a difference in it. And that's the hardest thing I feel like most people have to overcome.
Yeah, I crave things that are like salty and fatty. So like my wife makes roasted chickpeas for my kids, which are amazing. Like I feel like that's a much better like popcorn alternate. If you crave like things like popcorn, that's way healthier, good fiber. But I could literally eat as many of those as you put in front of me.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, don't leave the tray out because it's gonna be gone. And then my 4-year-old daughter is crying because Daddy ate all the chickpeas, and they call them chickapeas, which I think is super cute.
Oh,
but
that's adorable.
But yeah, that's having I think it's just understanding those slippery slopes that we know about ourselves that we don't necessarily want to go down, or if we do start to approach those, we have some strategies ready to go. So that's anything else besides sugar addiction that you tend to kind of be wary of?
No, it's really just the sugar. I struggle a lot with like body image issues. That's aside from food, but I come from a background where I have a mom who overdrinks. And so that's one of those things that I also avoid. I'm very, I've dealt with addiction in one form, with it being to food and to sugar, but I'm very wary of like any kind of alcohol, any kind of things like that. So yeah, it's usually either food or drink related. I just, try to stay away from it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk, you mentioned body image. I want to talk about your transformation journey a little bit, because I feel like you've made an important switch with your mindset that a lot of people miss, that are on a larger weight loss journey. So you've lost over 100 pounds. Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
All right. So one of the areas I see people struggle with is they really get into that weight loss mode. They're like, yes, and down 50, down 60, and they're being celebrated, and people are noticing, and your Instagram following is rising, and then all of a sudden you run out of real estate to sell. Like you're kind of done losing weight. And the important mindset shift I believe you've made is you're really focused on helping other people, which is a great, new purpose, new identity is what I call this phase. I have this whole concept that I teach called the transformation timeline. And this third phase is you're done being the weight loss person. Okay, now who am I? Now why am I getting out of bed to work out? Now why am I eating clean? And you fall in love with strength training. Your Instagram posts are awesome. You talk about just the way that you look, same body weight, look at the difference of how I look. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I feel like that's an important point to teach other people that are listening in, is how you've made that mindset shift into this new purpose, this new identity as a coach, as a leader, and as somebody that's done losing weight. Yeah,
it was probably one of the hardest mental changes that I've made, and probably still, I still struggle with it. There was a time in my weight loss journey when I got down to 129 pounds, so lost 103 pounds total. And I remember taking this picture and looking at it and thinking, wow, I am so thin. And that is probably the smallest I remember. I've never been overweight, aside from when I started gaining weight. So in high school, things like that, I wasn't overweight. I was probably anywhere between like 125, 135, very healthy, though I still struggled with body image disorders at that time. So seeing myself at 129 pounds, very thin, I had been working out, I had been strength training, I had been, trying to build some muscle, but overall, like I was doing it wrong. I was still focused on the scale and losing as much weight number-wise as I could. And I remember looking at that picture and being like, this isn't what I wanted. Like, this isn't what I got the number that I wanted. I hit that 100 pounds plus mark, but this isn't the body that I wanted. And so the goal shifted for me to building muscle, but with that came weight gain. And so talk about like screwing with your head, realizing that you have to gain weight to gain muscle, realizing that you have to eat in a calorie surplus and train differently, versus cutting your calories, watching what you're eating, having people look at you differently and be like, oh, I thought your goal is to always lose weight. And so taking that mental shift from weight loss to muscle gain to recomping your body was really difficult. And it's something that I have to really focus on stressing to my clients too, is you can't always focus on the numbers. So, when I decided to start strength training and really fell in love with weightlifting, and recomping my body, being okay with that scale going up, I would tend to just stay off of it, maybe weigh like once a month, and just, have to remind myself constantly. It's, just because I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing myself not as thin as I was, there's the purpose. Like I'm gaining a little bit of muscle, I'm gaining a little bit of body fat, but in the end, like it'll all pay off. So that's been a very hard thing to do. And at this point in my journey, food is something that I'm trying to use to heal my body as far as hormones and stuff goes. So there's a lot more that goes into play, wanting to be as lean as possible, but also wanting to be as healthy as possible. So there's two goals in mind, but choosing the one that's most important to me right now is having a healthy, happy body. So
yeah. And as a mom, as a spouse, that's super important.
Yeah.
So what lights you up? You don't have that weigh-in dopamine hit anymore of, oh, I'm down another 10 pounds. So is it like I just hit a PR deadlift, or look how my arm looks when I flex it in the mirror? Like what are the things that you get psyched about now?
Definitely PRs. I'm someone who comes from a not athletic background. I did cheerleading. I did some volleyball and I played some softball. Had a little bit of experience in high school with weightlifting. I competed in some powerlifting meets, but nothing I was ever really seasoned in. But teaching myself how to lift properly, the right way to do it, the right way to train, and then being able to, deadlift 235 pounds for the first time ever in my life. Like that right there is so amazing. That PR is so much better than cutting calories, in my opinion. So, having the ability to know where it is for me to maintain my current body weight and shape and be able to eat enough to fuel those kind of workouts and to be able to achieve new goals. That's what keeps me going.
What are your next few goals that you're shooting for strength training wise? Like, is there like a pull-up goal or, another deadlift goal, anything like that?
I would love to be able to hit 250 pounds on deadlift. Hopefully by the end of the year. That is my goal. Bench, I can do 140 right now for one rep. I would love to hit 150 by the end of the year if I can. And squat, I'm still working on that. I don't really know my 1 rep max for that. But anything over 250, 280 would be nice. So yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. So you're approaching that neighborhood of the double bodyweight deadlift, which is super awesome. Which
is crazy for a little 5'2" Lauren, but
that's awesome. Now, I'm a former powerlifter too, so I'm going to geek out on this a little bit. Now, are you doing sumo deadlifts or conventional stance deadlifts?
Conventional. Yeah.
That's even more impressive because normally the people that are less, vertically inclined like myself,
they like the sumos.
Yes, exactly. So that means you got a strong back and super strong hamstring. So that's awesome. We have to
on it.
Now we're gonna meet each other live at KetoCon this year. We may have to go get a deadlift workout in. We're gonna just find a barbell somewhere.
Yeah, I'm down for sure.
Excellent. Now, speaking of keto, let's dive into your specific ketogenic journey a little bit, because obviously the ketogenic diet is red hot, a lot of momentum behind it, but there are a lot of people out there that start it, they try it, and they freak, or like, especially females, like, oh, my menstrual cycle got screwed up, or, just random things happen and they kind of dip out pretty quick. So what would you say are some just foundational principles, guidelines that people need to be really conscious of, especially females, as they get ramped up into keto?
I like most of my clients to know that at some point your cycle is going to kind of get a little wonky. You're consuming the most fat in your life that you probably ever have. And so fat naturally regulates and transitions hormones. And so most often, I work with a lot of clients that have PCOS or infertility issues, and we've achieved great things, with the ketogenic diet, healing hormones. But a lot of times your cycle will, change, frequency, all of those things. And it's good to just go ahead and prepare yourself for those things. And then a lot of clients will talk about how, they're not hungry, and should I hit my macros? Should I, force myself to eat? And that, I figure that is on a client to client basis. But, for women, it's important for me to make sure that women are eating enough. Because I find that when clients do come to me, whether they've been doing keto on their own, lazy keto, if you want to call it, or if they've been just calorie counting, they usually come to me eating like 1,000 to 1,200 calories. And I'm just like, face palm, I can't, like that is normal diet mentality. But, getting them to a healthy intake, realizing that you can still probably eat anywhere from 1,600, 1,800 calories and be able to lose weight, and getting them to heal that relationship with food and knowing that it's okay. That's the most important thing that I think women need to understand, is that you can eat and you can still lose weight.
Yeah. What you described is exactly the same thing that I'm seeing right now when I have somebody start tracking their macros, their calories, and send it to me. I'm like, oh my God, like, was that just the first meal, or was that the whole day?
Yeah.
Like, let's start eating. And so many of these people are frustrated. They're starving. They don't feel good, and they're stalled out and or gaining weight. And then I tell them, we got to eat more. And they're like, what in the hell is this guy talking about? I'm trying to lose weight here. Yeah. So how do you get somebody to buy into that? I mean, do you just ask them to be like, listen, you paid me, you got skin in the game, or like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, no, the initial call that I have with my clients, I'm like, you have to be willing to trust me. I'm not going to, do anything that's going to put you back. But, reverse dieting is definitely something that I find that I'm having to do with almost all of my clients. I don't initially take them from 1,200 calories up to 1,800 calories or whatever, but slowly, the small increases, they start to build a little bit of trust. They're like, okay, so I can eat extra 200 calories a day, and I'm not gaining weight. I'm not losing right away, but I'm maintaining. And so that's the part that I feel like I have to open their eyes to, is you're staying right where you are, and you're eating double what you were. Like, that is a win in my book. And so then when I can gain that trust and that traction, when we start to kind of cut down, they start seeing that result and they're happy.
So we talked about not enough calories. What other areas are people tending to screw up keto that you're seeing?
Well, depending on like what food they're eating. I mean, everyone automatically assumes you can just eat bacon and eggs and you're eating the proper keto diet, or that with the keto crutches. That's what I like to call all of the keto baked goods and the keto cookies and all of these things that, in my opinion, it's a great transition for people starting out on keto. But like, what is your end goal? Are you looking to break your food addiction to those things, or are you, looking to really focus on food quality? Because the people who are eating Wendy's cheeseburgers, every single day for lunch, it really kind of questions my thought of what content needs to be put out in the keto community. Like, why are people still thinking that it's okay to go eat a double Baconator and that's perfect keto meal? You know, it's great in a pinch, but like for it to be part of your daily keto diet, it really frustrates me.
Yeah. I recently had a conversation with one of my podcast guests, Sean Mulroney, and Sean's somebody that he leads a whole thing called the Obesity Revolution. He weighs over 500 pounds right now, but he's lost over 100 pounds. And like every single day is a fight for his life, basically. Mm-hmm. And we talked about just getting over the mindset of doing anything at all costs to lose weight and thinking about chipping away and moving towards health each day. Mm-hmm. So is eating the Baconator the best choice to move towards health today? And if instead of eating, 12 Frosties, maybe, but if you can go home and have some nice grass-fed beef and add a little bit of kale up in that place and get some fish oil going or something, some omega-3s, that's a better choice. So we can't just cover our eyes and be like, keto, hell yeah, that's not going to lead us
eat all the bacon you want.
Yeah. So with people that are jumping in, we have some of those misconceptions like I can live off of bacon. I feel like if people are motivated to do keto because they love bacon so much, I feel like that's a bad place to start from. So what other suggestions do you have just entering like mindset wise as far as being motivated to do keto? Like why should people do keto?
I would say for me, it was breaking my food addiction, but like focusing on food quality, focusing on like what you're putting in your body. I mean, my husband and I just had this conversation the other day as we're sitting there at dinner and we're like, or actually it was breakfast. We were looking at what we used to get. We were in this old diner and he's like, man, I would have got this omelet and it comes with 3 pancakes and it comes with a biscuit and hash browns and all this stuff. And he's like, but I'm going to say no and I'm just going to get the omelet and I'm just going to choose to be better. And I'm like, that is what it is all about is you're an adult. You make your choices. You choose to, put quality foods in your body. So when anyone comes to me and is like, I want to start keto for weight loss, I'm like, hold the phone. Let's think a little bit more about it. Let's think about like, are you really worried about living longer? Are you really worried about healing anything that may be going on in your body that you don't know about? And I think that if we can get people to focus on those things, aside from the weight loss, like in the beginning, it makes the journey a lot easier. Yeah.
If we don't have that pressure hanging over us of, oh, my friend Susie lost 30 pounds on keto in 2 days. And now why didn't I? And just focusing on, again, chipping away at getting healthy. And are we doing things that are driving us towards that will probably produce weight loss as a side effect? Then that's cool. And that's where our focus needs to be. Now, when I get a keto expert on the show, I love to pick your brain on certain kind of hot button topics. All right. So first one, total carbs versus net carbs. Where do you stand on this?
Total carbs all the way.
Team total carbs. Cool.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
why are you on that side of the line?
So as I said, like in the beginning when I started keto, it was about a lifestyle change, but it was also about, changing my life and wanting to make sure that I was putting everything in my body that needed to be there. So at first I started counting net carbs. I was kind of in that transition phase where I was still allowing like the keto cookies or the 90-second bread or like all of those. I call them keto crutches. And it's fine in a transition phase. But for me, when I decided to start counting total carbs and realizing that if you're putting a carb, whether it be fiber, sugar, alcohols, whatever in your body, it's going in your body. Like you can't it doesn't disappear.
It counts.
That's my whole theory is how are you saying that you can subtract fiber when you're still putting in your body? So I'm just one of those black and white kind of people. You can't throw all this science at me and say, oh, well, it doesn't have a metabolic response. Well, not everybody's the same. So I think if you could just simplify it, cut out all of the keto crutches and all of the processed keto crap, then counting total carbs is super easy. I have clients that I recommend 20 to 25 total carbs usually starting out for anybody. And they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, let's just break it down, like let's not include that keto bar or the keto pancake or, whatever. Let's break it down to real whole foods and look at your carb count. And they find that it's way easier when it's just real whole foods.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I'm a team total carb as well. And I think for people like you and I that can eat the hell out of some food, you get something kind of carby going, like I could eat those chickpeas and eat a few of them because there's a ton of fiber and that could be net carb. But if I eat 4 cans of them, then that's, 1,000 plus calories and, that's not going to work. So
Exactly.
I fall on that side. I'm just really lucky that I am too lazy to cook things. If it takes more than 5 minutes or there's more than 3 ingredients, I'm like, I don't do it. I look at Matt and Mega's Keto Connect Instagram page, and I see all these delicious things. I'm like, I could eat 12 of those and 14 of those, but I will never do any of the recipes because I am too lazy. So that's good. That's good for me.
Yeah,
Now,
I get that.
So another hot button topic is, do I have to track calories and macros? Do I have to put in that work? Keto Coach Lauren, where do you stand on that one?
I think that it is goal specific. So if you have, I'm such a tracker by nature. Like I have tracked for the longest time. And I find that tracking, when I do it consistently and I know exactly what I'm putting in my body, then I see the best results that way. So I think that for someone who wants and has a serious goal where we have to kind of know and have everything dialed in, it's important. But for someone who's just looking to lose a little bit of weight, transition their lifestyle, teaching intuitive eating and, really paying attention to true hunger and knowing, all of those things is another form of coaching that I do. So I have my macro trackers and I have those who it doesn't stress out. It doesn't cause them any issues. But then I have the people who are like, I can't do this because it's too overwhelming to track my macros. Then we figure out another way for them. So I think it really varies on what the goal is and what the person's trying to achieve.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it seems like if you're trying to learn something new, you need to gather as much data as possible just to see what the heck's going on, and because maybe your carbs, maybe you're eating 200 grams of carbs every day and you're doing intuitive eating and you didn't realize that, chickpeas had a bunch of carbs in them or whatever. So,
right.
Or avocados. A lot of people are like, oh, avocado has a bunch of carbs in it. I'm like, not a ton, but enough that it'll kick you out of ketosis if you eat a bunch of them. So yeah, I feel like you said, kind of motivating people to say, I'm going to get you to a place where if it makes sense to intuitively eat and not have to track all this, but here's the bridge to getting there. We have to learn what is working, and then we know what a plate of food looks like that's going to work for you. And then you can kind of have that mental picture. So we are on the same page.
Yeah, I think intuitive eating and I think that's the goal. Cause you have people that come to you and you're like, am I going to be tracking my macros forever? And that's not, if you're like me, then probably, I still track when I maintain, I still track when I'm trying to gain some muscle and I'm eating in a surplus because that's just me. But, my husband, he is much he doesn't like to track. He feels very restricted by it, but he does it when he knows that there is a specific goal in mind. And so, for him, just living his ketogenic lifestyle, knowing what his carb count is for the day, and then just kind of letting everything else fall where it may, is where he's happy, maintaining. So I think that's the goal for everyone. And then also just knowing better and choosing better foods and doing better once you know.
Yep. Great advice. All right. Let's talk fasting, intermittent fasting. Where do you feel, do we have to do this with keto, or do you feel like it's just another tool to add to the toolbox?
I definitely think it's another tool, just like the whole carnivore, just like all of the different things that you can do to enhance your keto diet. It's definitely a tool. I find myself naturally just fasting for 16 to 18 hours a day because that's my body. That's what it typically gravitates towards. Now extended fast, I'm actually currently 45 hours deep into an extended fast.
Nice.
And I think that those are very beneficial, depending on what your goal is, whether it be gut health or, just trying to do elimination, whatever. But I mean, I think that it's just something that naturally happens. I don't think you have to do it, but the longer you're keto, the more intuitive you get to your body starts to respond to like hunger times and, preferring just 2 big meals a day instead of snacking and those things. It just comes naturally.
So with your fasting period, is that water only? Are you adding any like bone broth, anything like that?
Extended fast, yeah. I'll do bone broth, just because it's more for me, it's about gut healing. So that helps with that gut lining, any kind of inflammation. But water, and I even try to stay away from like caffeine. Like I'll do decaf coffee if I want it, but, just because caffeine can kind of, be an inflammatory as well. So.
Oh, that's brave. Yeah. That's brave. Cause I get hangry when I do my extended fast. I got to have something. I use a little nootropic mix. It hits the spot for me and it makes everybody else safe around me. So that's, and if I'm doing podcast interviews, I ran a contest last year. I was like, all right, I want you guys to guess which podcast episode, which interview I did where I sound a little bit drunk because I'm in the 3rd day of a fast.
Oh.
And I'm like slurring my language. I'm like, welcome to the 1,000,000-pound mission. So yeah, I'm like, okay, I can't do that without a little bit of caffeine action happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's, that's how I roll at least. But and so with your extended fast, are you on a schedule with that? Are you trying to do like once per quarter, once per month? Do you have any sort of rhyme and reason with that?
Well, this is actually the longest fast that I've ever done. But usually I'll do a 24-hour fast once a month just to kind of reset my system. 24 to 30 hours just depends. But yeah, I mean, I don't do it in particular for any, set schedule. It's just when I feel like I can. I find that the ones that are they're not scheduled, that's just like, I feel like I could fast, or I feel like I need a break. Like those are the ones that are really more successful for me. So like, it was after Mother's Day, I was just like, I think I'm going to fast for a little while, and, just have been fasting since. So
nice.
Yeah, it's been good. Sometimes it's nice to have a break from thinking about food too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Do you have any fasting success as far as like what time of day that you start? Like I like to get a meal or 2 in and then start a fast midday. And that way, because I get really hangry if I just start in the morning. By the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry and just pissed about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I think I started this one around 2:45 on Sunday. So yeah, I'm like mid-afternoon to like late afternoon, get through like that whole dinner period. You're sleeping pretty much through the first couple hours, and then getting through that full day, and then sleeping, and then waking up and being able to. So the plan was to actually break this fast at about 6:45 this morning, but I was like, I'm not even hungry. I'm just going to keep going. So, yeah, it's nicer to start, I think, around midday. Just get a couple meals in you, because that's another reason why I just naturally don't eat breakfast, is because if I find myself eating early in the morning, I'm going to eat all day, and that's just who I am. So I usually don't even eat my first meal until mid-afternoon to early afternoon.
So what does a typical day look like then, like normal eating, non-fasting, with your meals and also with your workouts? When are you trying to knock those out?
So I am a 4:30 a.m. workout person. I do all of my workouts fasted. So that 235-pound deadlift I mentioned was fasted.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So I like that. I'm just, I'm not a afternoon workout person. I feel like I'm much more productive when it comes to everything earlier in the day. And by the afternoon, if I haven't done it, I'm not going to do it. So I get up, I go to the gym, work out between 4:30 and 6:30, depending on if I'm doing cardio. I'll come home, have a fatty coffee usually, which I know that's a debated topic as well, if you need fatty coffee, but for me, it's just, I prefer it and I love it. Yeah. So I'm not going to do without it. Yeah. I'll do a fatty coffee, and then usually afternoon or between noon and 2, I'll have a meal. Usually it's some kind of like grass-fed beef or a burger or a steak with eggs and sometimes bacon, but and then dinner's usually any kind of salad or with like Primal Kitchen dressing, just things like that. I'll throw some nuts on there, some cheese if I want it, but I keep it super simple. And it is so funny, the conversation that you get from people. You're like, oh, don't you get bored? Like, why are you not making all the keto pizzas and the keto this and that? And I'm like, it's not about that anymore for me. I mean, it's nice to have the recipes to try, but functionality is kind of where I'm at when it comes to food at this point in my journey.
Yeah, it seems like you're to the point where you just like, you feel so damn good. You're like, that's the motivator, not, making keto pizza and stuff like that. Eating pretend foods, pretend carbs,
Yeah. I mean, they have a time and place. Like, we'll indulge occasionally with a fathead pizza or whatever, but it's like on your day to day, like I said, you focus on what you're putting in your body and how it fuels you. And, if you eat like crap, you feel like crap. So why.
Yeah, and you get some veggies in, which I feel like that's another debated topic in keto. It's like, you should not eat veggies, So, obviously you talked about eating like a salad and things like that. What does the salad look like? Is how carby are we getting here?
So I'll do like mixed greens, kale or, like spinach. And then I'll add in a protein, whether it be chicken or steak or, whatever, cheese, maybe some walnuts or some almonds, maybe some Parmesan crisps for a crunch too. And that's about it for me. I'm not a big, like, tons of different things on my salad, but I am one of those people that I have tried carnivore twice, and it's just not for me. My hormones absolutely hate it. So, everyone's different, but I do find that my body is happy when I do give it some good carbs like that.
Yeah.
So.
And you mentioned the Primal Kitchen dressing. Like, how good is that stuff?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It's the best. Have you done their mayo? Have you tried any of their avocado mayo? The Chipotle lime mayo. I sing its praises as often as possible. I emailed Mark Sisson. I was like, Mark, this is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth in my life. And like, I dip hard-boiled eggs into it. I'm like, this is the best.
Have you tried pork rinds in it yet?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Game changer.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Keto Coach Lauren, you just changed my life. Pork rinds. Like, get some like epic provisions, the pepper and salt ones. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Or the chili lime in the Chipotle, mate. Yeah.
I just you can give me anything. I think the chili lime. I'm like, that sounds delicious the way you just said it. All right. Now I want to talk about, as we kind of bring things home here, I want to talk about the keto community a little bit. I've talked with our friend Robert Sykes about this, Danny Vega a little bit. I'm seeing some battles going on out there, and it's creeping over to Instagram, which I don't like. Normally all the negativity is saved for Facebook. So a lot of people are kind of trolling on each other's accounts, vegan versus keto. Vegan, like, you're keto, you're killing people. And the keto people make fun of the wimpy vegan people, you suck. And there's a lot of going back and forth. So if there was one thing you could change around the way people think about nutrition in general, the way the different camps interact with each other, what would that be?
I mean, it would be to just like realize that everyone is bio-individual. We all are different. So you can't just put a blanket statement out there and say that fiber is terrible. You can't have fiber. You have to be carnivore. Or you can't just put a blanket statement out there saying that animals are gonna, are terrible for you to eat and whatever. Like, I mean, I have my own views on vegan and all of that stuff, but I think it's just about realizing that everyone is literally different and being okay with that. It's just like politics. Like, everyone's got their own opinion. Everyone likes their own candidate. But I mean, if we're all the same, if we're all believing the same things, then what kind of life is that? That's no fun. So it's cool to have difference of opinions and saying, this is what works for me. Maybe you give it a try and see how it works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, then, oh, well, it still works for me. So like, not having any kind of negative feelings towards people who aren't exactly like you. I think that's where we really need to focus on.
Yep. I agree 100%. I feel like there's a lot of common ground with healthy nutrition. And that's what we need to focus on. It's like, all right, you lost 100 pounds being vegan. I lost 100 pounds being keto. What are we both doing that's working? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That like what are like? Are we drinking water? Are we sweating every day? Are we meditating? Are we eating vegetables? Are we focusing on whole foods and you know, avoiding sugar? Like those seem like common ground points to me. I really want to assemble like a round table of people, like a United Nations of nutrition, you know, and have people and really work on finding that common ground of, you know, what's working for everybody type of thing. So I might have to get you involved in this. We'll see.
I'm down.
All right. All right. Now, I want to make sure that people can get connected to you. Obviously, you've got some awesome coaching programs. You do a lot of individualized stuff, which I know that takes a lot of work, and I really appreciate you out there putting in that work. So how can people dive in, get a little bit more into the universe of Keto Coach Lauren?
So I have a website, which is ketocoachlauren.com. Instagram is my busiest and most active platform. It's keto_coach_Lauren. And then I do have a YouTube channel, which is Keto Coach Lauren. And I have a podcast as well, which is KCL's Keto Corner podcast. So, which you will have to join me on soon.
You got it.
Hopefully. But
you got it.
Everything's pretty much Keto Coach Lauren. That's where you'll find me.
And I love your stuff. I love the content that you're putting out because I can tell that it's heartfelt. Like you're a real person, you're authentic, and you're just out there. You're passionate about how this lifestyle has impacted you, and now you're taking that and sharing it out and helping other people. I love it when people that have experienced success reach their hand out and pull other people up over the wall. Like that's awesome. Whether it's an experienced podcaster going, hey, come and be on my show, or somebody that's lost 100 pounds going, hey, let me show you how to do this. So you're doing good things, and I'm psyched to plug my audience into your universe. Now, I want to leave our audience with some homework, with some action. I always do this, all right? So let's say that you can sit down and there's like the ideal audience member that you have just lit them up. They're like, I relate to this chick. I really feel her vibe. You know, I feel like she could inspire me. Let's say that you get to sit down with that person and look them in the eye. Let's say that they're somebody that they've tried everything like you did, right? They've tried everything. They are frustrated and they're ready to quit, and they're ready to take that next like home run swing. And they're like, this has to be it. Keto Coach Lauren, this has to be it. You got to fix me. So what advice would you give them, or just something, an action step, something to think about that they could implement in the next 24 hours?
That's a good question. I would probably tell them to look at their behaviors, look at what they are currently doing, write out a list of what their goals are, what they want to do, and figure out which one is the most important to go for. So like for me, it was, I wanted to break my addiction to food. I had to evaluate what it was going to take for me to do that. And I had to really do some self-reflecting. So I'm really a big advocate for writing down your goals, writing down what you want to achieve, and reminding yourself of them every single day. So you're going to manifest it by reminding yourself, you know, of what you want and what you want to achieve. So I would say definitely just picking one or two goals and focusing on how you're going to achieve them. That's my biggest.
I love it. My audience knows I love setting goals and then setting affirmations attached to those goals, then manifesting those goals. So that is right up my alley. Keto Coach Lauren, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Now you've been inspired. You've got some marching orders here from Keto Coach Lauren, and I want you to get out there and take action and own it every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for hanging out for the after party. How about Keto Coach Lauren? What a sweetheart. Just a fresh face that is out there helping so many people. Check out all of her information in the show notes and in the blog at millionpoundmission.com. Now, for the episode, I mentioned a giant bonus for my Accelerate 28 program. Everybody that signs up this week will not only get the $47 price point, which is crazy because you're getting over $300 of value instantly as soon as you sign up, but also you will get full access to my Million Pound Mission University course, where I interviewed 18 of the top influencers in the health, fitness, wellness, and motivation space. This is another $200 value. So you're getting $500 of the value for $47. What am I thinking? He's lost his mind. So sign up by Sunday this week and grab that at millionpoundmission.com. The price goes up next Monday. The bonus goes away next Monday. Take advantage of this, over $500 of value for $47. And don't blink at that price as far as thinking like, oh, it's probably not that good. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to over deliver with this program. I'm going to blow you away. If you're somebody that struggles with momentum, kind of swinging back and forth, if you feel like you need to tag in an accountability partner, a coach, a community of people that you can step into and just get some of that mojo back, this is a great opportunity. We launched July 1st, but this week you get the special price of $47 and the bonus access to Million Pound Mission University. Don't delay. Go to millionpoundmission.com and get signed up.